Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. For those of you who are new, this is Amos Adventures and I travel with my dogs on board of my Jeep. I know it's been a while since my last video here, so I promise I'll try to put more content on YouTube on 2024. Many of you have been asking me, so I finally found the time to make a video in which I'm gonna give you a closer look at my Jeep and show you all the details of my setup for overland travels. I divided the video into two sections, so I will first show you the Jeep itself with all the mechanical preparation and the modification that it has, and then we will focus on the overland camping aspects where I will list you all the gears that I have and the specific setup that I created for my Wrangler based on my needs. Knowing that the project of my Jeep was not something that was born and concluded in one day, rather it's the result of various steps and upgrades developed over time, what I'm going to show you today is the outcome of the experience I gained trip after trip up to this moment. As you know, traveling on an off-road vehicle is such a wonderful experience, but it also involves some compromises in terms of comfort, for instance, because the space on board is limited as well as the budget that we may have. Therefore, having to necessarily giving up on something, it's important that we understand what our needs really are when traveling, so that we can build our vehicle based on this, also considering the type of travel that we intend to take. That's why, if you're a beginner, I suggest you to equip yourself only with the bare essentials and start traveling. That's the only way to find out what is really important for you and to build a vehicle that is truly yours. Having said that, let's start talking about my Jeep. It's a 2012 Jeep Wrangler Unlimited 2.8 diesel engine. I bought it second-hand in 2020. And it's an Arctic version, so mechanically it's a Sahara. And when I bought it, it had already some mechanical preparation, like bigger tires and lift kit. I'm not a mechanical guys, I'm not an expert, so please forgive me if I call some parts not with its proper name or if I'm too brief on some aspects. The setup consists of a 2.5 inches lift kit, including lifted coil springs and shock absorbers, reinforced steering stabilizer, various spacers and relocators, and new bevel gears. From a mechanical point of view, I've also done a remap to the engine control unit, in order to have a bit of extra power. And I've also added an extra gearbox oil radiator because the oil often tended to overheat, especially on uphill road with a lot of hairpins. As for the wheels, I'm actually fitted with a Cooper Discoverer STT Pro 35 inches, while previously I had the BF Goodrich KO2 All Terrein. I have to say that I feel much better with the Coopers rather than the BF Goodrich, and this in terms of grip on asphalt, wet or dry, as well as regarding off-road capabilities. I like them much more, and I think I will keep these tires even for the future. And the alloy wheels are 17 8.5 ET0 Mayhem wheels in this nice bronze color. I've also recently replaced the stock fenders with these flat fender flares. They are the Poison Spider model, and I purchased them from BGA Motors, as well as the front inner fenders, while I deemed it unnecessary to put inner fenders on the back. On the front axle, I installed the Rough Country Quick Disconnect sway bars, just to give some extra travel to the suspensions when needed. Although the disconnection is quite quick, unfortunately the reconnection is not as fast, since to reconnect them to the sway bar, the Jeep must be perfectly level, and despite that, it still can be very difficult because the weight of the Jeep can always be unbalanced from one side or another side, and this will make it more difficult to align the holes of the sway bar. So it ends up that I keep the sway bar connected 99% of the time. The bumpers, both front and rear, they are from the Italian brand Xquattro, and they are made of 4mm powder-coated steel, and the rear one includes the support for the spare tire. On the front bumper, I installed a 30,500 pounds Rhino winch. It's a synthetic rope, and also I installed a pair of auxiliary headlights of 50 watts. Then I also replaced the stock headlights here with these aftermarket lights, of which I particularly like the circular design of the daytime running lights. Well, still talking about lights, I've also installed a 52 inches LED bar here on the front, and I got some rock lights that are installed in where are the wheels and on the bottom, in the two sides, and in the front and the rear. They are RGB LED rock lights with remote controller. And to complete the setup, I also equipped myself with some complementary but essentials off-road gears, including a tire deflator, a twin-cylinder air compressor, 300 liters per minute, traction recovery pads, straps and hooks, a saw and an axe. But let's now start talking about camping. Well, I won't spend much time talking about the rooftop tent, which is an iCamper SkyCamp 3 Mini, because I already made a specific video where I make a review of this tent and you can find it here. But there are just a couple of things that I would like to add about this tent, which comes from my experience, because now I'm traveling with this tent since 1.5 years. And the third thing is about the mattress. Last summer I decided to replace the stock iCamper mattress, which was definitely too thin and uncomfortable if you sleep for more than a couple of nights in the tent, and I replaced it with an 8 cm thickness mattress, which is made of 5 cm polyurethane plus other 3 cm of memory foam. I bought it online and it cost me only like €100, and it's way much more comfortable than the original one. And with the new mattress, I still can leave 2 small pillows and a blanket inside the tent and get it closed, even though I need to press it a bit more to lock it. And the second note about the tent is concerning the PVC transparent cover on the external tent sheet in correspondence of the roof window. In fact, when the tent is packed and closed, the feet of the telescopic ladder are in contact with this PVC, and despite I always keep the leather feet protected with the specific bag they come with, I believe due to sun irradiation and heat of summer, they overheated the PVC, which seems burnt and it's getting yellow in this exact point. Well, I hope it won't get any worse, or even that it won't break. So apart these 2 points, I have to say that I love this tent a lot, and all the considerations I've made in my previous review are still valid. The tent is mounted on a front runner rack. It's a Slimline 2 Extreme 1.5 roof rack, which is made of a very solid aluminum, and it's pretty much the same dimensions of the iCamper Mini. I chose the short version because I wanted to keep the possibility of removing the freedom panels from the Wrangler and to install the Bestop Sunrider in summer and feel the sensation of the wind blowing through your hair when you're driving or watching the sky. And this short rack allows me to do that. But let's now see the awning. This is an Alucap 270 shadow awning, and I bought it only a few months ago. This is a really good quality product. It's freestanding and opening and closing are extremely fast. Plus, it makes a shade area of about 10 square meters, which is a lot. It's mounted on the front runner rack with the specific kit that Alucap provides separately, consisting of this solid bracket on the back corner, which is actually the point where most of the weight is supported. Now, since the awning is 2.6 meters long when closed and my rack is the short version, only 1.3 meters, I decided to add an extra support to the awning on the front, and I make it like that. So I fixed a small aluminum bar to the support of the LED bar, and it's much more stable now. It has also a supporting pole that you can open if you want to make it more stable in case of wind, and I can tell you that when this pole is fixed, the awning feels really solid. Now, even for this awning, there are plenty of reviews here on YouTube, so I won't list all its features. I just wanted to show you how quick it is to open it and pack it back and how good it looks. Okay, now that we have a place where to sleep and a shelter from rain and sun, what is our next essential need when we are overlanding? Of course, we need water. Well, after a first period where I used to travel with 2 portable water tanks of 25 liters, I decided to increase my water capacity and to make a fixed hydraulic system. To do so, I permanently removed my back seats and I installed a 94 liters water tank, which is fixed to the Jeep frame through the holes that were reserved for the seats. And I cover it with a wooden cabinet that I use as a flat surface to store the stuff on top. I wanted to be able to easily load water from the outside of the Jeep with a water hose, so I drilled the hardtop and I connected it with the tank through a flexible pipe and I installed a cap on the outside, like a fuel cap or like the water cap for the caravans. The water is sucked by a 12 volts water pump of 7 liters per minute, and through a pressure tank it goes through a rubber pipe directly to the back of the Jeep, where I can have easy access and dispense water through a hand shower. And this is super quick and useful because the pump is always on and water is released as soon as we press the handle. I use it for dishwashing, for showering, for the dogs, and for every other need that I may have. Second important need when overlanding is by far electricity. For instance, to run the fridge, to run the water pump, and being a video maker, also to be able to recharge the batteries of my drone and my camera. My primary electrical system is quite simple. I added an auxiliary 12 volts 80 ampere battery, which is recharged by the engine alternator. And it powers, as I said before, the fridge, the water pump. I also connected a box with some USB sockets to be able to recharge the phone, the drone and the camera, and also to put at night some nice ambient LED lights. Through a USB cable I can bring power also inside the tent, where I installed some LED strips and a USB phone charger. This auxiliary battery gives me an autonomy of about 2 or 3 days, which is quite enough for me, considering that I rarely spend more than one night in the same place. Nevertheless, I recently added to my gear a portable Bluetti power station that allows me to also have 220 volts sockets, for instance to charge my laptop, or for instance to have some extra power to add more lights, or to simply charge my phone wireless. And together with the Bluetti I also got a 200 watts solar panel, so that whenever I decide to come for some extra days in the same place, I won't run out of energy. The fridge, which I keep here, is a 38 liters compressor actuator. It's not a primary brand like Dometic or something, but it comes for all the price and it makes the job done. I mean, even in summer I have very cool drinks, and that's what a fridge is for, isn't it? Plus the energy consumption is lower than I expected. And under the fridge I obtain a drawer where I store my cutlery, glasses and cups, and underneath I store some pots and the Petromax fireball, which is very useful when overlanding. Rather, here on the right I created a little space where I used to store smaller things like coffee, sugar, salt, spices, and it's also perfect for storing other small objects, as you can see. And then I've also installed here some LED strip lights, which are quite useful at night when you need to pick up something from the fridge and you don't have enough light. Yeah, I'm a bit obsessed with light, did I mention it before? Okay, now let's move to the back. Here, as you can see, most of the space is occupied by the dog kennel, and I won't ever get tired of repeating how important it is to put your dogs into a kennel when traveling, when driving. And plus, you can use the kennel also as a place where your dogs can relax, or where you can secure them whenever you need to. So despite the kennel, I try to take advantage of all the available space remaining to store other stuff. For instance, starting here from the bottom, where I created 2 compartments. Here on the right I store my Kadak 2 cook camping stove, and when I need to cook I put it on the tailgate table. The stove is fed by a 5-liter gas tank that is fixed here, and underneath the gas tank there is some extra space for storing like other objects or tools. And I have some space even here on the left, where usually I store my shoes, some bottles of waters, this board to level the Jeep when parking. While on the top of the kennel I have here a little tray containing soap and sponge that I use to do my dishes, and on the right another little box where I put usually the cables, telephone charger, some small lights and so on. Still talking about cooking, I've recently built this simple wooden board that I shaped to perfectly fit in here between the body and the rear bumper, and it's very useful, especially when the tailgate table is occupied by the stove, because it gives some extra space, extra working space, I mean, for cooking, and I can use it even directly as a cutting board. On the spare tire, I have a trasharu bag, and I have to say, guys, that this gear is a real game changer for overlanders. Yes, because every time you're out for a travel or even on one-day adventure, you always have some rubbish, and you don't want to keep it inside the vehicle because it might smell, so you don't know where to put it, and usually you put it like on the rear view mirror, you hang it somewhere, and it's so ugly to see that little plastic bag. For instance, you are making some pictures of your campsite, of your setup, and that little ugly plastic bag, it always ruins the scene. Well, once you get a spare tire bag, you can forget about that. Your rubbish is safe as well as your content. Well, sometimes I use the trasharu also for carrying some firewoods, and why not? Also to keep the dog food, because, well, it's protected from rain. Moving to the right, here I usually keep a box with the food and beverage, and also a bag with all my clothes. And I usually also store here a folding table with 2 chairs. Well, I hope I haven't forgotten anything, because actually I had plenty of things that I wanted to show you today. By the way, should you have any question, please let me know here in the comments. I will be pleased to answer you. And if you like my content and you want to see more, make sure to hit the subscribe button. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you to the next one.